is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and this is Chapter 7, Part 1. The Outworlders. One of the fellows in the group was a lady carrying a black umbrella, and she was in the middle of telling the group why she was using it. And now I take this with me everywhere, because I get tense every time I look up at the sky. That is perfectly normal, said Rimaru suddenly. And she was about to say more when she saw Amis, and Rimaru then said, "Welcome, Amis." Amis sat down on the empty chair left for him, and Amelius then went to a nearby table that had plenty of food, and after stuffing his plate, Amelia was about to proceed eating when Amis said, "Put that down and sit down." And Amelia sat down on a nearby couch, and the twins had never been in the interior of Rimaru's home, and this room had a lot of plain-looking white walls and a strange large crystal windows, and the couches were clean, and they swirled around towards the center of the room, and in the middle there was a table with a swirling piece of ornamental glass that resembled flame, and this glass changed color every so often, and the walls had hollow notches, each with books and curiosities inside. And at the back end of the room facing the door was a spiral staircase that led to the second floor, and aside from the spiral couch there was the addition of the chairs for the new visitors. "When did you become a listener?" asked Amis. "Says I messed things up, and I got stuff, and I ruined everything. Had I informed my brother before making a decision, he would have told me to bullshit a lot, except for the brass tubes to be safer than sorry," explained Rimaru. "That's a little extreme, all things considered, don't you think?" asked Amelius. "Well, he has become a bit more sanguinary as of lately, and I can blame it on my mother's influence. Her solution to most things is to kill the problem and not relocate it, and it's a good thing she always sees on her problems for months before acting upon them," said Rimaru, apologetic. "There comes some time when we must all make our own decisions in life," said Amelius. For the following months, Rimaru acted as a listener to all of the victims of Mindis. And one day Rimaru said, "I think we have made some sort of significant progress. Still, the way I see it, talking about the problem is not enough, and we need to return to the source of the problem to really get over it. So what you're saying is we need to take the fight to the squid monster," asked one of the fellows. "No," said Rimaru. "I was talking about going for a spacewalk, and we have some really nice antique suits, and you guys are going to put them on, and it is going to feel great." "I don't know," said Amis. "Don't worry about it," said Rimaru, scoffing at his concern. "The suits are real light and not heavy like those armors, and they're designed to feel like a second skin, ideal for decreasing claustrophobia by 97%. And the next day, Rimaru returned with the suits, and they were indeed rather tight and clear, and they had a strange gelatinous texture very similar to the feel of a jellyfish. And the suits when put on felt just like Rimaru promised. They felt like a second skin. And they covered just up to the neck. And since they were clear and thin, the folks in the group were able to put their clothing over the spacesuits. And from there they followed Rimaru down to the docks, and after rolling for a bit, he led his small group to one of the sewers, and from there they returned to the surface, and it was part of the street that was closed off by 4 houses, and from there they took a little staircase, and then we entered the attic of one of the houses, and the house was abandoned, and the basement however seemed much better condition. And it was at this point when Amis asked, "Why did we have to pass by the stinky sewer to get here?" "I was trying to lose someone," explained Rimaru, and Rimaru then pushed a couple of stones, and then the floor opened, revealing some stairs, and the stairs led to the metro station, and Amis looked at the railways on the floor and the columns, and the room was lighted by lanterns with blue flame. And the flame somehow made the space seem even darker, and each of the columns had a mosaic depicting different types of jellyfish creatures, and the creatures had a certain humanity about them, but they were still alien in appearance. And Amis asked, "Who are they?" "They were a different type of life forms that were pretty common in Saturn, and while most life forms born and die, these ones just appear, and then one day disappear. And the early settlers of the world made columns dedicated to them. In time they faded away or died," explained Rimaru. "Do those creatures have a soul?" asked Amelius. He had become a permanent visitor to all of Rimaru's counseling. "Yes, some of their ghosts do haunt this ground from time to time, and there were even a couple that ascended to godhood, like that pest Mindis, who is very sorry by the way, for causing so much distress to her tardigrades," explained Rimaru. "What are tardigrades?" asked a different fellow. "Is that what she calls us?" "No, they are tiny bears, and they live in moss-covered waters, and they live about 2 years, but since they are so small, they perceive time very slowly," explained Rimaru. "Time doesn't move slower for me," said a dwarven fellow. "It does, but not significantly enough for your perception of reality to be different from anyone else," said Rimaru. The rats were interrupted by the horn of a metro approaching, and there was a strong light at the end of the tunnel. And as the light drew nearer, the sound of the gears became stronger, and Ames was stepping a little too close to see what was coming, and his brother pulled him back by his shirt before the train stopped. And the train that came was a collection of carriages attached at the bottom by a flat steel support frame, and the front of the locomotive was the only thing that was unfamiliar. It had a chimney, a little engine beneath a round steel casing, and instead of a driver, it had a steel automaton. And his body was hollow, showing the clockworks, and the metal face was as lifeless as any mask, and the only detail to it was a mustache and a monocle. And Amelia came out to the automaton and he commanded, "Neat, it's just like one of those automatons the dead king used to make." "Really? How?" asked Ame, surprised. Amelia came to it and said, "Here, you see this gear? It is just like working a watch. You wind it up and it does what it's supposed to. Give it a whirl, let's go," said another fellow. Before Amelia did anything, Rimaru came and gave the gear one turn, and then came near the automaton and he whispered something, and the automaton nodded either because of the gear or because of what Rimaru said. And the train made its way through the dark tunnel, and the only light came from the front of the train, and the interior of the carriages were connected with one another, and they were actually a lot more spacious than they first appeared, and there was already a couple of other passengers within the train. And Ame said beside one of the passengers, a pale maiden with large pink eyes, a strange outfit and squid limbs, and a strange bulbous head with tiny horns. And while Ame waited, he decided to make small talk, as was his habit, and everyone looked tense or weary, and Ame was not fond of silences, and this was not to say that there was much silence in the train, and there was a strange guitar being played from a location he could not discern. And Ame asked the squid maiden, "Where are you headed?" They made them over her tiny beak of a mouth that was on her face, and then she said with a sweet parrot of a voice, "I am headed to a happy place." "And where might that be exactly?" asked Rimaru. "I don't know. I will know when I find such a place, even if I must always stay looking," said the pale maiden. "I am surprised you speak our language so well," said Amelia. "How so?" asked the pale maiden. "I just assumed creatures from other worlds would speak other languages, or not speak at all, or maybe speak without using their mouths, like telepathy," said Amelius. "I get that a lot, and I say what I often say, when I meet such people," said the pale maiden. "A long time ago, the entire universe, all of the stars, all of the suns were ruled by one person. There was peace, but also great injustice, and some people were not even aware that they were caged birds, and as with most things, his rule came to an end, and now nobody even remembers his name, and there are still remnants of his empire. However, the languages from his kingdom, as one of the commonalities, is what remains." So yeah, time bro?
15 minutos.
So yeah, a long time ago there was somebody that ruled all of the known universe. But Amis whistled and he said, "Well, it's impossible to imagine lording over everything and having it all slipped away just the same. It sort of makes you ponder on why some folks bother to create large empires when city-states were just fine," said Rimaru. "It all was down to unhappiness, and I was a little tyrant too, but then one day I left everything to go look for my own happiness," said the pale maiden. "And I did not want to end up like my father, who was not only unhappy, but he did not allow others around him to be happy as well." "And pray do tell me what puts a smile on your face," asked Amelius. The pale maiden grinned and said, "I like killing people. I travel from world to world killing folks. I kill a fellow here and there, and then I move on to a new world." Red flag. Red flag.
She's a predator.
She could be. Now, killing the same type of creatures is never fun. "Is it serious?" asked Amelius to Rimaru. "I don't have all the answers," said Rimaru, annoyed. "Do I look like a mind reader to you?" "Who are you to judge, my brother?" rebuked Amis. Amelius grew quiet once again, and the human passengers from the terrible group had all clustered around Rimaru as if his mere presence was enough to keep the pale maiden at bay. And the creature was enjoying every second of the response she had gotten from her remarks, for indeed she had not lied about her enjoying killing. And the train slowed down, and then it stopped, and the pale maiden left the train, and all of the passengers breathed a sigh of relief, and it would then resume its lonely march again. "Then we should have stopped her," said Amelius. "By we, you mean you," said Rimaru. "I don't know, it makes no sense joking. And only a fool blindly believes everything a person says, said Amis. And yet you are here, said Amelius. And there was a brief silence, broken only by the different song playing in the carriage, and this one Rimaru recognized, and it was clear the loom by the boozy. And the train slowed down a bit, and as it did, it slowly started to rotate in circles, and the sensation was at first a bit odd, and the passengers were told to strap themselves to their seat, and when the rotating sensation passed, they were allowed to roam. And Amis looked out the window, and then he saw that the darkness was slowly dissipating, and when they got out of the shadow of the tidal moon, they were able to see the stars. And Amelius asked, when did we left the planet? Close to the time we started to rotate, said Rimaru. The spinning simulates gravity, which means that it helps to keep our footing on the ground, and when the train stops, we will have about 20 minutes to float about a bit before returning home. Rimaru then handed the passengers a hat that resembled a fishbowl, and when it attached to the gelatinous suit they were wearing below, the hat started to produce oxygen for us fellows, and Amelius didn't bother to put on the bowl because he was not in the mood to wander about space. He instead brought out a book and he started reading, and I'm surprised said, don't you want to go head out? Meh, said Amelius, getting comfortable on his seat. And Rimaru then led his class for a spacewalk, and they had a grand old time floating about, and in the meantime Amelius was approached by the automaton conductor. And he had left his post and had only come to rest his weary gears in one of the seats, and Amelia was surprised by the autonomy of the robot, and as for the robot, he was surprised by the fact that Amelius was not the least bit curious about space. Why are you not out there with the other children? Asked the robot. I could ask you the very same thing, said Amelius, closing his book. I find the familiarity of my post very comforting, answered the robot. You and me both, said Amelius, agreeing with the automaton. Some folks just don't know how to appreciate a good thing, said the automaton. And the conversation will continue in a similar fashion, with both the robot and Amelius agreeing with one another. And by the end of the spacewalk, Amelius had gotten himself a new pen pal. Time?
It's 11 minutes.
And from then until his death, Amelius received letters and even occasional visitations from the automaton, Apega. And just like all of the other fellows who were taken by Mindis, Amis was enamored with the idea of going to other worlds and seeing new sights, and this did not humor Amelius one bit, but he was now the type of fellow to clip his brother's wings, and slowly he began to resent to the idea that his twin was going to go away forever or die in some stupid world that was far too away for him for him to reach him. And Amelius kept all of this foreboding thoughts to himself, and he only confided in Apega when he answered his first letter, and Apega promised Amelius that he was always going to keep his brother safe. And the colorful worlds with the creatures and he would only take Amis to the worlds that he could handle with meager skills and lack of common sense. And the day before his brother's departure, Sativa said to Amelius, if you want to go, I can travel. If you want to, I can travel with you, Amis, to keep him safe. That is not your burden to bear, it is mine, but I do not want to bother with him anymore. He is a grown man, he can take care of himself, said Amelius, and he added, do you know that he was supposed to be the Lazarite? And Amis doesn't remember, but he was born blue, and he used to get teased so much that he would cry, and one day I prayed to the God to make me blue instead of my brother, and she granted me my wish, and even though he was the reason for my mother's curse, and I killed and I stained my hands to keep his clean, and now I can't sleep at night anymore. I don't know, that story of your goddess sounds a little bit like hogwash to me, said Sativa. The truth no longer matters, and I have set my route, and I am not leaving Aragon to satisfy the full of my brother's wishes, said Amelius, and I'm going to be selfish for once in my life. Time?
9 minutes.
Alright, let's just leave it here. Bye-bye and God bless.